Welcome, brave souls, to another spine-tingling journey into the unknown. Tonight, we delve into the heart of the American Southwest, where the desert winds whisper tales of the restless dead. Arizona, with its rich history and desolate landscapes, is home to some of the most haunted places in the United States. From abandoned mines to ghostly hotels, these locations have witnessed tragedies, mysteries, and phenomena that defy explanation. So, dim the lights, settle in, and prepare yourself for a night of chilling stories as we explore the 10 most haunted places in Arizona. The Grand Hotel in Jerome, Arizona, rises dramatically on the hillside, overlooking the once thriving mining town below. Its red brick facade and sprawling verandas give it an air of elegance. But behind this charming exterior lies a history steeped in tragedy and mystery. Originally constructed as a hospital during the height of Jerome's copper mining boom, the building has witnessed countless lives lost to mining accidents, disease, and the harsh realities of frontier life. Over time, as the hospital closed and the town evolved, the Grand Hotel transformed into a lodging facility, drawing curious visitors and paranormal enthusiasts eager to experience its haunted legacy firsthand. Guests arriving at the Grand Hotel often speak first of its atmosphere, a quiet, almost tangible tension that seems to hang in the hallways. The moment one crosses the threshold, a chilling sensation washes over them, as though the walls themselves remember the lives once contained within. Many have reported a strange heaviness in certain rooms, a weight that feels less like furniture and more like the presence of unseen eyes watching every movement. The sensation is accompanied by sudden cold drafts, even on warm days, leaving visitors questioning whether the building's age alone could account for such phenomena. Perhaps the most commonly reported occurrences are the unexplained footsteps echoing through the hallways. These sounds appear without warning, sometimes slow and deliberate, other times quick and erratic, as if someone is pacing in anxiety. Guests who investigate these noises often find empty corridors, doors left slightly ajar, and no evidence of other visitors. Some have described following the sound only to have it suddenly vanish, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. Those who have stayed late into the night often recount the piano a faint, haunting melody drifting from somewhere deep within the hotel, though no instrument is visibly present. The tune is said to carry a mournful quality, as if recounting the sorrows of lives long past. The hallways themselves hold a reputation for shadowy apparitions. Figures, often blurred and indistinct, have been observed moving at the edge of a guest's vision. Some appear to be dressed in early 20th century hospital attire, a subtle hint at the building's previous role. Witnesses report feeling a presence that is not merely visual but physical, and almost tactile sense of someone brushing past them, a sudden sensation of being held, guided, or watched. In some instances, visitors have felt icy hands graze their arms or shoulders, leaving goosebumps and lingering unease. One of the most persistent legends revolves around the spirit of a former nurse. Locals and visitors alike have spoken of seeing her in the hallways, carrying what appears to be medical instruments or guiding invisible patients. Her presence is said to be both comforting and eerie, yet gentle caretaker, lingering far beyond her mortal life. Guests who have encountered her often describe a sense of calm, as though the apparition carries an intent to care rather than harm. Yet, her appearance is a reminder of the hospital's dark history and the weight of the countless lives she once tended. Room 14 is frequently singled out as the epicenter of paranormal activity. Visitors staying in this room often experience sudden drops in temperature, objects shifting inexplicably, and the sensation of being observed. Some report waking in the middle of the night to see the nurse standing silently near the foot of their bed, her expression unreadable and her movements slow, deliberate. Attempts to communicate are met with an unsettling stillness, as if the figure acknowledges the presence of the living but cannot interact in the conventional sense. The hotel's common areas are no less active. Guests lingering in the lounge have recounted hearing faint voices, whispers that ebb and flow like the wind. The source is never apparent, yet the conversations feel intimate, as though former patients and staff are replaying their lives within the hotel's walls. Chandeliers and lamps occasionally flicker, casting dancing shadows across the walls that seem structured to be mere trickery of the light. Some believe these are echoes of past events, residual energy imprinting itself onto the surroundings for those sensitive enough to perceive them. Even outside the hotel, the grounds carry an air of foreboding. The hill itself is steep and rugged, often blanketed in fog or shadow, enhancing the isolation and mystery of the building. Guests who explored the exterior at dusk have reported feeling watched from the edges of the property, or hearing distant calls that resemble human voices yet carry no discernible words. The combination of natural beauty and unsettling ambience creates a stark contrast, one that visitors often describe as both mesmerizing and terrifying. Paranormal investigators frequently visit the Grand Hotel, drawn by its storied past and consistent reports of supernatural activity. Equipment captures unusual readings, sudden temperature drops, electromagnetic fluctuations, and occasional audio anomalies. While skeptics attribute much of this to the building's age and atmospheric conditions, the consistency of experiences among different guests cannot be ignored. Whether it is the nurse still tending to her patients, shadowy figures gliding down hallways, or the haunting piano melody echoing through empty rooms, the Grand Hotel maintains its reputation as one of Arizona's most haunted destinations. For those who dare to stay the night, the Grand Hotel promises more than a place to rest. It offers a connection to the past, a glimpse into the lives and deaths that shaped the building, and the subtle, unnerving presence of spirits who linger, refusing to move on. Visitors leave with stories, photographs, and recordings, but more importantly, they leave with the knowledge that the Grand Hotel is alive in its own mysterious way, a living testament to the echoes of history and the ghosts that refuse to be forgotten. The Orpheum Theater in Phoenix stands as a jewel of the city's performing arts history. Built in 1929, it has hosted vaudeville acts, theatrical performances, and concerts, welcoming thousands of patrons through its ornate doors. With its gilded balconies, intricate plasterwork, and sweeping staircases, the theater exudes an old-world charm that transports visitors to a bygone era. Yet behind its elegant facade lies a lingering presence, a spirit that has become known to those familiar with the theater's most whispered legends. The Lady in Red. Reports of unusual occurrences have circulated for decades. Theater staff often describe an unsettling energy that fills the building when it's empty, a sensation that makes them feel as if unseen eyes are watching from the shadows. The most consistent phenomenon involves the balcony, where the Lady in Red is said to appear. Witnesses describe a woman dressed in a flowing scarlet gown, her form sometimes blurred, as though caught between the physical world and another plane. She does not speak, but her presence is keenly felt, her gaze seeming to follow patrons as they move through the aisles. Audience members occasionally report hearing the faint rustle of fabric, as though someone is adjusting their dress, or the soft click of heels along the balcony floor. The sounds are delicate but distinct, and when curious spectators turn to see who is present, the seat next to them, more across the railing, is empty. Some have even claimed to feel a cold breeze brush against their neck, though the theater's climate is otherwise warm and controlled. The Lady in Red appears to be most active during performances, especially at times of emotional intensity, as if she is drawn to moments of passion and drama on stage. Backstage, the encounters are more eerie. Performers and crew members have reported a sudden drop in temperature, a sharp contrast to the usual warmth of the old theater. Doors sometimes open and close on their own, and props and costumes are occasionally found moved or misplaced without explanation. Staff often speak of an unmistakable perfume lingering in the air, an old-fashioned scent reminiscent of roses and powder, associated with the Lady in Red. While some dismiss it as a trick of ventilation or lingering scents from historical attire, those who experience it often shiver at the realization that the smell seems to follow them personally, fading only when they leave the theater entirely. The theater's history hints at why such a presence might linger. Some speculate that the Lady in Red was a performer or patron from the theater's early days, a woman whose life was cut tragically short. Others suggest she is the spirit of someone deeply connected to the theater, so attached to its grandeur and energy that she remains long after death. The identity of the Lady in Red is never confirmed, but her impact is undeniable. Even skeptics report a sense of unease or heightened awareness when walking through the balcony, and photographs sometimes capture unexplained shadows or blurs where she is believed to linger. Visitors often recount stories of inexplicable occurrences that defy logical explanation. A couple attending a play once reported feeling a hand lightly touch the shoulder of one of them during an emotional scene, though the aisle between rows was clear. Another visitor claimed to see a glimmer of red fabric move along the balcony, accompanied by a faint laugh, only to find the seat unoccupied when she looked directly. Musicians who perform at the Orpheum have mentioned hearing additional footsteps on the stage during rehearsals, sounds that do not match the movements of anyone present. Even in empty corridors, the theater seems alive with whispers, soft sounds that rise and fall like distant conversations, leaving visitors to wonder if the Lady in Red is simply observing, silently interacting with the living. The Lady in Red is not known to be malevolent, but her presence is undeniable and sometimes unsettling. Patrons report a mix of awe and trepidation. They feel they are witnessing a link to the past, a spectral observer who has woven herself into the very fabric of the Orpheum Theater. Her appearances are sporadic, yet consistent enough that she has become part of the theater's identity, a legend that attracts ghost hunters, history enthusiasts, and curious theatergoers alike. Many visitors leave the Orpheum not only impressed by the artistry on stage, but also with a lingering sense of having shared the space with someone or something from another era. Paranormal investigators who have studied the theater describe unusual readings, fluctuating temperatures in empty rooms, electromagnetic anomalies near the balcony, and faint audio captures of whispers and indistinct laughter. While skeptics argue that these phenomena could be attributed to the building's age or acoustics, the repeated consistency of experiences reported by patrons and staff alike suggests a lingering, unexplained presence. The Lady in Red has become both a cultural fixture and a spectral mystery, her story entwined with the history of the Orpheum Theater itself. Those who spend time at the Orpheum often find themselves reflecting on the delicate boundary between past and present. The Lady in Red serves as a reminder that the theater is more than a building of stone, wood, and plaster. It is a vessel of memories, emotions, and histories that refuse to fade completely. For visitors, she transforms a simple night at the theater into an encounter with the unknown, a fleeting brush with the spirit tied eternally to the passion, drama, and artistry of a bygone era. The Orpheum Theater, with its grandeur, charm, and haunting presence, remains a place where the living and the spectral share the same stage, and the Lady in Red ensures that the legacy of those long past continues to watch, listen, and perhaps even smile from her perch in the balcony. The Pioneer Living History Museum in Phoenix is a unique destination where visitors can experience the Old West through meticulously reconstructed buildings, costumed interpreters, and period demonstrations. The museum spans several acres, featuring a blacksmith's forge, general store, saloon, schoolhouse, and residential cabins, all designed to transport visitors back to a bygone era. But beneath the authentic wooden structures and rustic charm lies an atmosphere thick with unexplained phenomena, leading many to believe that the past never truly left this historic site. Numerous visitors have reported hearing sounds that defy explanation. The cries of a baby echo through the empty streets at odd hours, though no infant resides on the premises. Some describe the sobbing as intermittent, sometimes faint and distant, other times startlingly close, as if the child is wandering just behind them. The sound often vanishes the moment one tries to locate its source, leaving a chilling sense of unease. Accompanying these cries, some have heard the barking of a dog, sharp and insistent, echoing across the deserted pathways. Yet, despite searching, no animal is ever found. Other phenomena involve the sounds of daily life from another century. Patrons have reported hearing the rhythmic clinking of metal from the blacksmith's forge, as if an unseen hand is still hammering hot iron on the anvil. The echoes carry through the air with surprising clarity, drawing curious onlookers who find the forge empty, tools untouched, and the bellows still. Even the general store has its own spectral activity. The faint shuffle of feet across wooden floors, the creak of doors opening and closing, and the subtle sound of objects being handled, though no one is present. Sightings are perhaps even more unsettling. Figures dressed in period clothing have been observed walking the streets of the museum, moving from building to building with purpose, only to vanish when approached. Guests report glimpsing women in long skirts and bonnets, men in suspenders and wide-brimmed hats, all appearing frozen in the moment, yet clearly engaged in their daily routines. One visitor recounted seeing a man tending the forge as sparks flew, his movements precise and deliberate, only for him to vanish into thin air when the observer drew near. The saloon seems to be the focal point of the museum's paranormal activity. Many recount encounters with a cowboy who appears at the bar, tipping his hat politely before fading from sight. His presence is usually accompanied by the faint smell of whiskey and cigars, a scent that lingers long after he disappears. Some patrons have described seeing his shadow reflected in mirrors or catching a fleeting glimpse of his figure standing just outside the saloon doors, observing the empty streets with an almost human curiosity. Even the schoolhouse holds its share of mysterious events. The soft tapping of chalk on slate has been reported in empty classrooms, along with the occasional sound of pages turning in unseen books. Guests have sometimes heard the murmur of lessons or the low hum of a piano being played, though the building has been unused for decades. These phenomena create an unsettling blend of nostalgia and fear, as though the museum's inhabitants from the past are continuing their routines without acknowledging the presence of the living. Some employees and long-term volunteers have grown accustomed to these occurrences, noting that the spirits seem particularly active during early morning hours or late in the evening when the museum is quiet. Cameras set up for security occasionally capture strange anomalies, shadows moving without a source, objects slightly out of place, and glimpses of figures wearing old-fashioned attire. Investigators have also noted sudden temperature drops in certain areas, particularly near the saloon and forge, suggesting a lingering energy that defies natural explanation. Visitors' reactions vary from curiosity to fear. Many are fascinated by the possibility of encountering the living history of the Old West in its most literal sense, while others feel an inexplicable anxiety, as if being observed by unseen eyes. Some have reported a tingling sensation when walking past certain buildings, a sense of cold air brushing against their skin, or the impression that someone is walking just behind them, even when the streets are empty. The legends surrounding the Pioneer Living History Museum have grown over the years. Tales of the baby's cries, the dog's bark, the clinking of metal, and the tipping cowboy are shared among local storytellers and paranormal enthusiasts, adding layers of intrigue to an already immersive experience. For many, the thrill of encountering a ghostly figure in period dress or hearing the sounds of a long-gone era enhances the museum's appeal, transforming a historical visit into a supernatural adventure. Whether skeptics or believers, visitors often leave the museum with a sense that the past is never truly gone. The sounds, sights, and sensations reported by countless guests suggest that the Pioneer Living History Museum is more than just a reconstruction of history, may be a space where echoes of the past persist, continuing to act out daily life in silence and shadow. From the spectral blacksmith to the tip of the cowboy's hat, the museum seems alive with invisible inhabitants, offering a chilling yet captivating reminder that history, in this place, is far from dead. The Arizona state capitol in Phoenix stands as a symbol of the state's history and governance. Its impressive architecture reflecting the pride of its early 20th century builders. Constructed in 1901, the Capitol has witnessed over a century of political decisions, celebrations, and tragedies. Yet, beyond its marble halls, polished offices, and stately chambers. The building has earned a reputation among locals and staff for an unsettling presence that lingers long after the sun sets. Employees and visitors alike have reported a variety of unexplained phenomena throughout the capital. Footsteps echoing through empty corridors are among the most common experiences. Late at night, custodians and security personnel have heard the rhythmic tapping of shoes against the marble floors, moving from one end of the hall to the other, only to vanish when investigated. These sounds are often accompanied by the faint creak of doors opening and closing, seemingly without a cause. In some cases, doors have been found ajar when they were securely closed just moments before, or closed tightly when left open, as if an unseen hand had intervened. The most chilling reports involve the appearance of a woman, thought by many to be connected to a tragic fire that occurred in the 1930s. During this devastating blaze, several lives were lost within the building, including those of women working late in the administrative offices. Staff members have recounted hearing the soft, sorrowful tones of a woman's voice in areas where no one is present. Some describe it as a call for help, while others hear what seems like whispering, almost pleading, as if the spirit is attempting to communicate. The voice is often accompanied by sudden chills that sweep through the halls, leaving a lingering feeling of unease. In addition to auditory phenomena, there have been visual encounters reported within the capital. Security cameras have occasionally captured unexplained shadows moving across hallways, or flickering lights in rooms that are otherwise unoccupied. Some staff have even claimed to see a faint female apparition gliding across offices or standing silently in the corridors before disappearing. Witnesses often describe her as wearing period clothing consistent with the 1930s, lending credence to the theory that these sightings are connected to the tragic fire. Certain rooms and hallways seem to be hotspots for these occurrences. The upper floors, where administrative offices were historically located, are particularly active, with employees describing a feeling of being watched or followed. Cold spots are common, and many report a sudden drop in temperature that seems to defy the climate-controlled environment of the building. Some have even felt a brush of air against their skin, or the sensation of a hand lightly touching their shoulder, only to find no one there. The Capitol's chambers, where the state's lawmakers convene, are also said to have a spectral presence. Late-night cleaners and maintenance workers have described hearing murmurs echoing through the legislative floor, as if a conversation is taking place among invisible participants. Others report the sound of papers rustling or chairs scraping across the floor, despite the rooms being completely empty. These sounds often occur in patterns, giving the impression that the spirits are reenacting scenes from the building's past, preserving fragments of daily life from decades ago. Visitors, to have experienced inexplicable events. Tourists taking evening tours have reported cameras malfunctioning, flashes going off without warning, and devices suddenly losing power. Some have felt an invisible weight in their presence, an oppressive sense of being observed. Others claim that their voices echo oddly when calling out in certain corridors, as if another presence is responding, though no one is there. The capital's haunted reputation has been the subject of local lore for decades. Stories of late-night apparitions, unexplained sounds, and cold drafts are shared among employees and Phoenix residents alike. Some have embraced the building's spectral history, using it as a point of intrigue for guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations. Others remain cautious, especially those who work alone after hours, often reporting that they avoid certain areas of the building entirely. Historical records suggest that the fire in the 1930s may be the catalyst for much of the haunting. While the tragedy was well documented at the time, the accounts of lingering spirits were first noted by employees decades later. The combination of sudden death, sorrow, and a building with long corridors and hidden corners creates the perfect environment for paranormal activity, according to enthusiasts and investigators alike. Despite the eerie reports, the Arizona State Capitol continues to function as a working government building, blending the weight of its legislative duties with the mysterious energy that surrounds it. Visitors and staff have come to accept that the building is not only a monument to Arizona's political history, but also a space where the past, particularly its most tragic events, has left a lingering presence. Whether it is the echoing footsteps, the faint whispers, or the sight of a ghostly figure drifting through the halls, the Arizona state capitol remains a place where history and the supernatural intersect. Those who walk its corridors after hours often find themselves on edge, aware that the building's stories extend beyond the official records. The echoes of the past, carried by spirits who may never rest, continue to shape the Capitol's atmosphere, making it one of Phoenix's most intriguing and haunted landmarks. The Queen Mine in Bisbee, Arizona, is more than a historic copper mine. It is a portal to the past, where the echoes of labor and tragedy still linger. Established in the late 19th century, the mine was a cornerstone of Bisbee's booming copper industry, drawing workers from across the country. For decades, miners toiled in its labyrinthine tunnels, extracting or under grueling conditions. The mine was not just a workplace, it was a community, where stories of camaraderie, hardship, and occasional disaster intertwined. Today, visitors come not only to witness the history of copper mining, but also to encounter the spectral presence that many believe has never left the Queen Mine. Guests entering the Queen Mine often describe an immediate change in atmosphere. The air feels heavier, cooler, and tinged with a damp, earthy scent that seems to carry whispers from the mine's past. Tour guides recount tales of unexplained sounds, metal striking rock, chains rattling, and the low murmur of voices echoing through the dark passages. Many first-time visitors are startled by these auditory phenomena, unsure whether it is the acoustics of the tunnels or something far more sinister at play. Those who have spent more time exploring the mine often insist that the sounds follow them, a spectral symphony of miners long gone. Sightings of apparitions are among the most common and chilling experiences at the Queen Mine. Guests have reported seeing shadowy figures moving through the tunnels, dressed in mining gear of a bygone era. Their faces are often obscured by darkness or covered by the wide-brimmed hats typical of the early miners. Some witnesses claim that these figures work silently, swinging pickaxes or carrying buckets as if the mine is still in operation. There is a sense of relentless repetition, a haunting reenactment of the daily toil that once defined life underground. Many visitors describe feeling an almost tangible presence alongside them, a weight on their shoulders or a subtle brush against their arms. Some have felt sudden cold drafts in sections of the mine where the temperature should remain consistent. And a few have reported a sense of being watched by invisible eyes. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that these sensations may be the residual energy of miners who perished in accidents or simply the spirits of those deeply connected to their work, unable to leave the mine even in death. The Queen Mine is not without its tragic history, and it is these events that may contribute to the lingering supernatural activity. Over the decades, mining accidents, cave-ins, and health-related deaths claimed the lives of numerous workers. Records indicate that some miners lost their lives in sudden collapses, trapped beneath tons of rock, while others succumbed to illnesses caused by prolonged exposure to dust and harsh working conditions. It is believed by some that the spirits of these men and women remain tethered to the very tunnels where they spent so much of their lives and where some met untimely ends. Visitors have reported peculiar experiences in specific areas of the mine, near the ode or chute. Some say they hear the rhythmic clanging of tools striking metal, accompanied by faint murmurs of miners' conversations. In the deeper sections, where daylight never reaches, guests have claimed to see flickering shadows, as if lanterns carried by unseen hands light the paths momentarily. Occasionally, temperature shifts occur abruptly, with sudden drops that seem to envelop the explorers in icy discomfort. These occurrences often leave guests uneasy, and many admit they tread carefully through the darker tunnels, unsure whether the mine itself is alive or if unseen inhabitants are observing their every step. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the Queen Mine for years, intrigued by the combination of historical significance and reported haunting. EMF meters, audio recording devices, and thermal cameras have been employed to document activity. Some investigators claim to have captured faint figures in photographs or video. appearing in mining attire and performing tasks that no longer have purpose. Others report disembodied voices on audio recordings, whispering in languages long forgotten or speaking in the clipped tones of miners' conversations. These findings are often debated, yet the consistent reports from independent visitors and tour guides alike suggest a phenomenon that cannot be easily dismissed. Guided tours of the Queen Mine offer a unique blend of history and the supernatural. Tour guides recount stories of individual miners, tragic accidents, and the day-to-day life of the mining community, while warning guests about the unexplained occurrences that have long been associated with the tunnels. Many visitors enter hoping to learn about copper mining, but leave with tales of spectral figures, strange noises, and an awareness that the past may not be entirely past. The mine, though quiet on the surface, hums with the echoes of labor, struggle, and loss. For some, the Queen Mine is a place of curiosity, a chance to witness a unique slice of history. For others, it is a threshold into the unknown, a location where the boundary between the living and the dead feels tenuous. Whether the footsteps, whispers, and shadowy figures are the result of historical memory or true supernatural activity, the Queen Mine continues to fascinate and unsettle all who venture into its depths. Visitors leave the tunnels with a profound respect for the miners who once labored there, and an uneasy awareness that some of them may still be present. The Queen Mine stands as a monument not only to human industry, but also to the mysteries that linger where history and the spirit world converge. In its dark corridors and silent chambers, the echoes of the past continue to whisper, waiting for anyone willing to listen. The Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona, is more than just a historic lodging. It is a repository of stories, some of which are far from ordinary. Opened in 1927, this iconic hotel has long been a haven for travelers drawn to the charm of northern Arizona, but its reputation for paranormal activity has made it a magnet for ghost hunters and curious visitors alike. The Monte Vista-esque combination of vintage, elegance, and eerie occurrences gives the hotel a unique atmosphere where history and the supernatural intertwine. Guests entering the Hotel Monte Vista often describe an immediate sense of stepping back in time. The lobby, with its original woodwork, antique furnishings, and vintage lighting, exudes a charm that is both welcoming and slightly unsettling. It is here, among the polished floors and historic, that the hotel's supernatural stories often begin. Many visitors have reported hearing sounds that cannot be explained: footsteps echoing in empty hallways, whispers carried on the wind, and the faint wail of a baby crying in the dead of night. The crying is perhaps the most unsettling, as it appears without origin. Guests rise from their beds, only to find the room empty and silent, leaving them questioning their own senses. Among the most frequently cited spirits is a woman in a white dress, often described as standing at the end of the hallway. Her face is obscured by a veil, and she appears to drift rather than walk, gliding along the carpeted corridor, as if suspended in another time. Witnesses have reported a sudden drop in temperature when encountering her, and a feeling of melancholy seems to emanate from her presence. Some claim she is a former guest who met a tragic end, lingering in the hotel to relive moments of sorrow or perhaps to seek solace. The details of her life remain a mystery, adding to the eerie allure of the apparition. The Monte Vista is also home to the spirit of a former bellboy, one of the most beloved and recognizable entities among the hotel's ghostly inhabitants. Guests have reported seeing him in the hallways or near the elevators, assisting with luggage, or simply standing attentively, as though waiting for instructions. Unlike other spectral visitors, this ghostly bellboy appears helpful rather than threatening, adding a curious sense of warmth to the otherwise chilling experiences. Guests recount objects moving slightly, suitcases shifting position, or personal items appearing as though attended by unseen hands, phenomena attributed to this attentive spirit. Other areas of the hotel also seem to harbor restless energy. The upper floors, particularly rooms with long histories of occupancy, have been the site of numerous ghost sightings. Some guests awaken to find the sensation of being watched, or notice shadows moving at the periphery of their vision. Doors creak open or shut on their own, sometimes with force, and lights flicker inexplicably. Even the antique elevators, a feature dating back to the hotel's early days, are said to operate without command on occasion, transporting guests or objects seemingly under their own volition. The stories of the Hotel Monte Vista are not limited to casual anecdotes. Over the decades, paranormal investigators have visited the property to document activity. Many report capturing audio of unexplained sounds, such as children's laughter, doors slamming, and whispers in empty corridors. Video footage occasionally reveals fleeting shadows or figures that vanish when approached. EMF meters often spike in certain hallways or rooms, particularly where the white-dressed woman and bellboy have been sighted. These recordings have fueled both skepticism and intrigue, but the consistency of the reports suggests a pattern that cannot be easily dismissed. Some guests have attempted to interact with the spirits, with mixed results. A few have left offerings in rooms where the baby's cries are most frequently heard, hoping to calm the restless presence. Others have spoken directly to the woman in white or acknowledged the bellboy's assistance, reporting a subtle acknowledgement, a whisper, a light touch, or an inexplicable sense of comfort. Whether these experiences are manifestations of the subconscious or genuine interactions with the spectral residents, they have become a defining part of the Monte Vista's mystique. Despite the eerie occurrences, the Hotel Monte Vista continues to operate as a welcoming lodging destination. Many visitors are drawn as much by the stories of ghosts as by the hotel's historic charm and prime location in Flagstaff. Its blend of classic architecture, vintage ambience, and paranormal reputation makes it a unique experience, where guests can enjoy modern comforts while remaining mindful of the unseen. For those willing to explore the hotel's hallways after dark, there is the thrilling possibility of encountering a ghostly presence, be it the melancholic woman in white, the helpful bellboy, or the mysterious cries of an unseen child. The Monte Vista has become more than a hotel. It is a repository of stories and experiences that straddle the line between history and the supernatural. Guests often leave with memories of their stay that extend beyond the ordinary, a cold draft in a sunlit room, footsteps echoing down the hall, or the faint image of a figure that disappears when looked at directly. These encounters have cemented the hotel's reputation as one of Arizona's most haunted landmarks, where every creaking floorboard and flickering light holds the potential for an encounter with the past. Visitors to the Hotel Monte Vista do not merely stay, they experience a living history of mystery and the unexplained. Whether one is skeptical or a believer, the stories persist, whispered through the corridors and passed from guest to guest. It is a place where the line between the living and the dead is thinner, and where the spirits of Flagstaff's past continue to make their presence known. In the end, the Hotel Monte Vista remains a captivating destination, offering a glimpse into the spectral world that quietly exists alongside the ordinary. The Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona, is a living relic of the Old West, a place where the echoes of history and the whispers of the supernatural intertwine. Built in 1881, the theater quickly became the center of Tombstone's bustling nightlife, hosting performances, gambling, and entertainment for miners, cowboys, and adventurers of the era. Its reputation for excitement and debauchery was matched only by the violent history of the town itself, where gunfights and lawlessness were commonplace. Today, the Birdcage Theater stands as both a museum and a site for paranormal exploration. Walking through the theater, one can immediately feel the weight of its past. The walls adorned with period photographs and artifacts seem to whisper stories of long-forgotten performances. Guests have often reported hearing the faint strains of music, piano notes drifting through the air, and laughter that seems to come from nowhere. These sounds evoke images of saloon girls performing, gamblers celebrating a winning hand, and audiences enjoying the raucous entertainment of the late 19th century. Yet, when visitors search for the source, the theater appears empty, the instruments silent, and the stage deserted, leaving only the lingering echo of a bygone era. Among the most frequently reported phenomena are apparitions in period clothing. Patrons have described seeing women in long dresses with corsets, and men in vests and top hats, sitting quietly in the audience as if frozen in time. Some have even claimed to witness performers on stage, acting out scenes as though the theater had never closed. The figures do not interact with the living, yet their presence is unmistakable, creating a sense of both wonder and unease. Many visitors report a sudden drop in temperature when these apparitions appear, as though the room itself becomes a conduit to another time. The Birdcage Theater is also infamous for its paranormal poker games. Tales tell of players who never left the building, continuing their card games into eternity. Witnesses have reported seeing cards moving across tables, chips stacking themselves, and the occasional sound of dice rolling without anyone present. Some claim to have glimpsed spectral players, faces pale and expressions intense, dealing hands as they did in life. Those who have lingered in the gambling area report a feeling of being watched, a pressure at the back of the neck, or even the sensation of a chair being pulled out beside them, as though inviting them to join the game. The theater's upstairs and basement areas are often cited as particularly active. In the upstairs rooms, once used as dressing areas and private lounges, guests have reported hearing the scuff of boots on wooden floors and whispers in the dark corners. Some have seen figures pass through walls or appear suddenly at the end of a hallway. In the basement, formerly used for storage and sometimes illicit activities, the temperature drops sharply and footsteps echo in the shadows. Equipment, props, and even doors have been observed moving without explanation, reinforcing the sense that the past refuses to remain buried. Staff members and guides at the Birdcage Theater often share their own experiences. Many recount hearing disembodied voices calling out instructions, the faint clatter of instruments, or the sudden illumination of gas lamps when the room is otherwise dark. Some have even reported feeling touched or brushed by unseen hands, particularly when alone in areas associated with high activity. These experiences are taken seriously, as the theater has maintained detailed records of reported incidents for decades. Paranormal investigators have captured audio and video evidence, noting anomalies such as shadow figures, EVP recordings of whispers, and unexplained cold spots, further cementing the Birdcage Theater's reputation as one of Arizona's most haunted historic sites. Tourists visiting the theater are often both thrilled and unnerved. Guided tours include stories of ghostly performers, unexplained music, and the relentless poker game, allowing visitors to experience the history and mystery simultaneously. Some report feelings of excitement and curiosity, while others speak of an undeniable tension, as if the building itself is alive with the memories of those who once walked its halls. The combination of historical authenticity and supernatural activity creates an atmosphere unlike any other, blending the tangible past with the intangible mysteries that linger just out of reach. The legends of the Birdcage Theater are not mere folklore. They are a living part of the site's identity. Visitors continue to share personal experiences, photographs capturing fleeting shadows, and videos of inexplicable movements. Local lore suggests that the spirits of performers, gamblers, and patrons remain tied to the theater by strong emotional attachments, unable or unwilling to leave. Each unexplained sound, each flicker of movement, and each spectral figure adds another layer to the enduring mystique of this historic building. Despite its reputation for ghostly encounters, the Birdcage Theater remains a celebrated destination for history enthusiasts and paranormal explorers alike. Guests can marvel at the preserved architecture, learn about Tombstone's colorful past, and immerse themselves in the stories of the Old West, while remaining mindful of the supernatural presence that inhabits the space. Every creaking floorboard, every flicker of light, and every echo of a ghostly piano note serves as a reminder that history and the afterlife coexist within the walls of the Birdcage Theater. Visitors leave with memories that go beyond the ordinary sense of stepping back in time. A brush with the spectral and a profound connection to the people who once inhabited this infamous Wild West venue. The Birdcage Theater is more than a historical site. It is a portal to the past, a place where the music, laughter, and drama of a bygone era continue to play out under the watchful eyes of those who never truly left. It is a living testament to the enduring allure of Tombstone, the Wild West, and the mysteries that linger just beyond the veil. Hidden deep within the rugged expanse of Arizona's superstition mountains lies one of the most infamous legends of the American West. The Lost Dutchman Mine, said to be a rich gold mine hidden by the German immigrant Jacob Waltz in the 19th century. Its location has eluded treasure hunters for over a century. What began as tales of incredible wealth has grown into stories of danger, misfortune, and the supernatural, earning the mine a reputation not just for mystery, but for being cursed. Hikers and explorers who venture into the superstitions often report strange and unsettling experiences. The terrain itself is treacherous. Jagged rocks, narrow canyons, and sudden cliffs make the area difficult to navigate even during the day. Yet those drawn by the allure of lost gold often press on, spurred by the hope of discovery. Many, however, find more than they expected. Reports frequently describe hearing the sound of pickaxes striking rock in the distance, even when no other person is nearby. These phantom sounds echo through the canyons and gullies, creating a chilling sense that someone or something is still at work. In addition to these eerie noises, hikers sometimes hear voices calling their names or distant whispers carried on the wind. These voices are often faint, almost indistinguishable from the natural sounds of the mountains. But those who hear them describe a compelling sense of urgency, as if the mountain itself is trying to guide or warn them. Some hikers have experienced a sudden feeling of being followed, glancing over their shoulders to see shadows moving among the rocks, only for the shapes to vanish when confronted. The legend of the mine's curse grows darker with the many disappearances attributed to it. Over the years, numerous treasure seekers have ventured into the Superstition Mountains, never to return. The stories vary. Some vanished without a trace, while others were found days later, disoriented, exhausted, and unable to explain what had occurred. This pattern has led many to believe that the spirits of those who perished searching for the gold now haunt the mountains, bound to the land and guarding its secrets. Some hikers report even more direct encounters. There are tales of ghostly figures dressed in 19th century clothing, sometimes spotted working with tools as if continuing a task left unfinished. Others describe feeling a sudden, icy presence pressing against them, or a shadowy figure crossing their path and disappearing into the wilderness. The sense of being watched is so strong that even seasoned hikers admit to feeling an unease that is difficult to shake. Cameras and audio equipment sometimes capture unexplained phenomena, shadowy shapes in photographs, faint metallic sounds on recordings, or cold spots in otherwise warm desert air. Beyond the supernatural, the mine's legend is fueled by human history. The Superstition Mountains were home to Apache tribes long before European settlers arrived, and the area was known for its dangers, harsh weather, wild animals, and difficult terrain. Some believe that these factors combined with the tragic fates of treasure hunters create a powerful aura of energy that manifests as ghostly phenomena. Others insist the curse is real, that Jacob Waltz's mine was protected by forces beyond human understanding, punishing those who would try to claim the gold for themselves. Despite the warnings, the Lost Dutchman mine continues to lure adventurers. Some are skeptics, seeking to prove that the stories of ghosts and curses are mere superstition. Others come with a genuine belief that the spirits of the lost miners linger, and that they might catch a glimpse of history frozen in the mountains. For many, the thrill lies not in the gold itself, but in the experience of stepping into a landscape steeped in legend, where the line between the living and the spectral seems to blur. The Superstition Mountains hold a power that is difficult to describe. The combination of breathtaking scenery, treacherous terrain, and haunting tales of disappearances and supernatural occurrences creates an atmosphere that lingers long after hikers return home. Whether it is the sound of phantom pickaxes, the whisper of a lost voice, or the cold pressure of unseen eyes upon their backs, those who venture in speak of an undeniable presence. The Lost Dutchman mine remains undiscovered, and perhaps it always will. Its legend is maintained not only by the promise of gold, but by the tales of those who have encountered its mysterious forces. For hikers, treasure hunters, and ghost seekers alike, the mine represents a threshold between the known and the unknown, a place where history, myth, and the supernatural collide. The spirits of the past seem to guard their secrets jealously, ensuring that the mine continues to fascinate, terrify, and lure adventurers into the shadows of the Superstition Mountains. The Charlotte Hall Museum, located in the heart of Prescott, Arizona, stands as a testament to the city's rich history and pioneering spirit. Housed in the former governor's mansion, the building has witnessed over a century of events, from political gatherings to private lives, leaving an indelible mark on its walls. Today, it serves as a museum dedicated to preserving Prescott's heritage. But beneath its historical charm lies a reputation that intrigues both visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Guests to the museum have often described experiences that defy explanation. Some report hearing the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing across the polished wooden floors, particularly during the quieter evening hours when the building is largely empty. These steps, deliberate and measured, seem to come from areas where no one is present, creating a sense of unease. Visitors who follow the sounds often find themselves at a dead end or in rooms that are completely vacant, leaving only the echoing noise to accompany them. Doors opening and closing on their own are another common phenomenon reported at the Charlotte Hall Museum. Even when secured, certain doors seem to respond to an unseen force. Museum staff have recounted instances where doors to offices, exhibit rooms, or hallways suddenly swing open or shut, despite the absence of wind or human interference. Some guests describe a feeling of being gently nudged as they pass through these areas, as if an invisible presence is guiding them more, perhaps observing their every move. A faint but persistent scent of lavender is another peculiar occurrence. The fragrance seems to drift through certain hallways or rooms without any apparent source. Visitors often note that the scent is strongest in the older sections of the mansion, particularly near the governor's former study and the main parlor. Many speculate that the aroma could be linked to a former resident or perhaps a caretaker who once frequented the halls, leaving behind a lingering reminder of their presence. Perhaps the most striking reports come in the form of apparitions. Guests have seen figures dressed in old-fashioned clothing walking through the museum grounds and corridors. These spectral figures often appear in period attire, evoking the mansion's history in vivid detail. One frequent sighting is that of a well-dressed gentleman pacing the main hall, his footsteps precise and deliberate. When approached, the figure vanishes, leaving behind only the faint rustle of fabric and a lingering chill in the air. Another commonly reported apparition is that of a woman in a long dress, sometimes observed tending to the gardens or moving gracefully through the parlors. Witnesses describe her movements as purposeful yet ethereal, almost as if she exists partially in another plane. The figure often disappears when visitors attempt to interact or get closer, reinforcing the notion that these are not ordinary intruders, but remnants of the mansion's storied past. Many visitors and staff also recount a pervasive sense of being watched. This sensation is particularly strong in the older wings of the mansion, where original furnishings and artifacts remain on display. Some describe it as a subtle pressure at the back of the neck, a tingling sensation along the spine, or even fleeting shadows glimpsed from the corner of the eye. The feeling is never threatening, yet it is undeniably present, leaving many with an uneasy awareness that the mansion is alive in a way that transcends the physical. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the Charlotte Hall Museum for decades, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. EVP recordings in certain rooms have picked up faint voices that seem to murmur names or phrases from the past. Night vision cameras sometimes reveal shadowy forms moving across rooms with no discernible source. Temperature readings often fluctuate dramatically in specific areas. Collectively, these accounts contribute to the mansion's reputation as one of Prescott's most intriguing haunted locations. Despite or perhaps because of these eerie occurrences, the museum continues to attract curious visitors. Some come for the historical significance, immersing themselves in exhibits detailing Arizona's early governance and pioneer life. Others are drawn by the supernatural allure, hoping for a brush with the unexplained. Both groups often leave with stories of subtle but undeniable phenomena. Footsteps echoing through empty halls, doors moving of their own accord, the faint scent of lavender lingering in the air, and glimpses of figures from a bygone era. The Charlotte Hall Museum is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine. Its walls have borne witness to generations of residents, political events, and social gatherings, each leaving an imprint that some say refuses to fade. The mansion's quiet corridors, sunlit parlors, and shadowed corners serve as conduits for echoes of the past, giving visitors a rare glimpse into lives long gone. Whether these experiences are the result of lingering spirits, residual energy, or the imagination of those attuned to the mansion's atmosphere, the effect is undeniable. A sense that the past is never truly gone, that it continues to walk the halls, invisible but present. For those who venture into the Charlotte Hall Museum, it offers more than just a historical journey. It presents an encounter with the unseen, a subtle, sometimes startling reminder that time leaves traces that do not always fade. The footsteps, the moving doors, the scent of lavender, and the apparitions collectively paint a portrait of a place where history, memory, and mystery coexist. Visitors depart with the knowledge that while the museum preserves the tangible artifacts of Prescott's past, it also safeguards intangible echoes that continue to stir the imagination. A haunting legacy that quietly endures in every hall and garden of this storied mansion. The Arizona State Prison in Florence, Arizona, stands as a stark reminder of the state's penal history. Operational from 1908 until its closure in 1993. The prison housed countless inmates over its decades of service, many of whom lived and died within its imposing walls. Today, the facility serves as a museum, preserving the architecture, cells, and artifacts of its long and often grim history. But alongside the history of punishment and confinement, the prison has garnered a reputation for something far less tangible. A lingering presence that some visitors and staff describe as distinctly supernatural. From the moment one steps onto the prison grounds, there is a palpable sense of the past. The tall stone walls, heavy iron gates, and narrow corridors echo with the lives of those who were once confined here. Many visitors report hearing the unmistakable sound of chains dragging across the floor, even when no one else is present. These sounds often come from the old cell blocks, where metal doors still hang on their original hinges, rusted yet imposing. The dragging and clanging, accompanied by faint metallic echoes, create an eerie symphony, as if the prison itself remembers the struggles and despair of its inmates. Footsteps are another common occurrence. Visitors have described hearing slow, deliberate steps approaching along the narrow hallways, only to vanish when investigated. Often, the steps come in sequences that mimic the rhythm of guards making their rounds, or prisoners pacing in confinement. Some have reported feeling a sudden pressure on their shoulders or the brush of cold air, as if an unseen figure had passed right by them. These experiences leave a lingering chill that follows visitors from the cell blocks to the mess hall, and even into the outdoor exercise yards, where the echoes of the past seem to resonate among the stone walls. The cells themselves are said to be the epicenter of paranormal activity. Many of these small, windowless rooms have remained intact, furnished with the basic iron beds and benches that once confined inmates. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures moving behind the bars, their forms indistinct and shifting, as if the darkness itself has taken shape. Some claim to have glimpsed faces obscured by shadow, fleeting expressions of anger, despair, or sorrow appearing and vanishing in the blink of an eye. These apparitions are often reported by those exploring the old administrative and cell blocks late in the afternoon or after the museum officially closes. In addition to footsteps and shadowy figures, there are frequent reports of auditory phenomena. Distant cries and moans echo through the halls, some resembling the cries of prisoners enduring punishment or anguish. Chains clanking, the squeal of metal on metal, and the occasional slam of a cell door have been heard without explanation. Guests often note that these sounds are particularly pronounced in the areas where executions were once carried out, or near solitary confinement cells, suggesting that the intense emotional energy of the past may still linger in the architecture. Several accounts describe interactions that are more personal and unsettling. Some visitors report a sudden, inexplicable sense of being watched, accompanied by cold drafts that seem to move against the natural flow of air. Others have felt touches on their arms or shoulders, light enough to startle but too deliberate to be accidental. A few claim that objects, such as lanterns, keys, or personal items, have shifted position when no one is nearby. These subtle disturbances, though not violent, are enough to convince many that the prison is far from empty. Staff and guides who have spent long hours at the museum often have their own stories. Many describe a constant feeling of the past pressing against the present. Some have heard low murmurs when cleaning or maintaining the cells, or felt sudden drops in temperature that cannot be attributed to the desert climate outside. Paranormal investigators have taken special interest in the site, capturing unexplained noises, electromagnetic anomalies, and images that suggest figures lingering in the shadows. Whether these phenomena are residual energy, sentient spirits, or a combination of both, they create an atmosphere of unease that permeates the entire facility. The Arizona State Prison also carries a legacy of tragedy, contributing to its haunted reputation. Over the years, inmates endured harsh conditions, overcrowding, and punishment that often crossed the line into cruelty. Executions, riots, and untimely deaths have left emotional imprints, and many believe that the intensity of suffering has bound some of these spirits to the walls of the prison. Visitors are not just exploring a historic building, they are walking through the lingering echoes of human emotion, sorrow, and sometimes unresolved anger. Despite the unsettling occurrences, the prison remains a place of fascination. Some visitors come for the historical education, exploring exhibits detailing the lives of inmates, guards, and the evolution of Arizona's penal system. Others come seeking the paranormal, drawn by the stories of chains, footsteps, and shadowy figures. Either way, nearly all leave with an experience that is difficult to forget, a sense that the prison is alive with memories that refuse to fade, and that the past continues to reach out in subtle, chilling ways. The Arizona State Prison in Florence is more than just a museum. It is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine, where the stories of those who lived and died within its walls continue to resonate. The sounds of chains, the echoes of footsteps, the cold drafts, and the fleeting apparitions all serve as reminders that some memories are too powerful to be confined to the past. For visitors, the prison offers an encounter with a history that is tangible, haunting, and unyielding, a glimpse into a world where the line between the living and the dead is disturbingly thin. As we conclude our journey through Arizona's most haunted places, remember that the line between the living and the dead is often thinner than we think. These locations, steeped in history and tragedy, serve as a reminder that some spirits refuse to rest. If you dare to visit these sites, tread carefully, for you never know who or what you might encounter. Until next time, keep your lights on and your senses sharp. The shadows are always watching.